everyone. I'm Leanne Wood, and I'm host of the KBIS Next Stage. Emerald Expositions, the KBIS show producers, is a leading operator of business-to-business trade shows, conferences, content, and media products in the United States. One of the other shows that Emerald produces in the design category is CEDIA Expo, a trade show for residential technology integrators, designers, and construction professionals where they connect, learn, and engage. You should all go. I actually met all of the great technology professionals we have here on the panel today from my work on CEDIA Expo. The intersection of design and technology is undeniable, and we are thrilled that they came to KBIS to spot the technology trends here. Control4, a Snap One company, is a brand that works at the intersection of design and technology. They produce smart home operating systems that create personalized, smart living experiences perfect for any home. Today, we are pleased to have Nick Rosato, Area Sales Manager for Control4, to tell us about the company and introduce the panel. Nick, welcome to the stage.
All right, good morning, everyone. So, hello and welcome to day 3 of the KBIS Next Stage. My name is Nick Rosato. I'm the Area Sales Manager for Snap One and Control4. I cover all sales for the Florida South region. And I'm pleased to bring to this panel to you today, a panel called TechPoint. TechPoint, it's about the possibilities for total integration with leading tech experts. But it's more than just a panel. These great folks have been walking the show floor for about the past 2 days, and they're going to share with you the best tech finds. And they will also be talking about the important relationship between you, the design community, and our integrator community, which is where we come from. So looking back 3 years ago, after this 2-year break, and looking at statistics, 30% of US households added a smart device in some form, shape, fashion, right? Pooling of 127 million plus households. Okay, so think about that. 30% of US households added a smart device. And when we talk about the future of smart home integration, we tend to want to break it down via different types of technologies used in a home and how they interact with a home, calling a smart home platform. And we also want to know how well they work together and how do we interact with these devices, right? So, which is the difference between the DIY market, the do-it-yourselfers, versus the professional installers. And that's what we want to talk about today. So, which is why we're here. As we know, everything is becoming smart. As we walk around the show, there's always this new device that has some way to talk to Google Home Assistant, Alexa, via some sort of technology, right? And some of us tend to want to take this product on ourselves. And a lot of us will do that. We'll buy the product, and before you know it, they've got 5, 6, 7 apps, right? And sometimes they get themselves in trouble, that's more of the DIY community and versus the professional integrator community, and that's what we're going to talk about today, right? So examples of connected devices. I literally just saw a salt, pepper, shaker, voice controlled. I don't have a need for it, but I think it's a cool product, right? I don't know how it's going to be used, but it's an example of where we're going with technology. So that's what we want to talk about today. And these guys are going to come on to the panel today, are going to talk about these very things to help you understand how to discern the differences between a DIY product versus a professional install product, right? So, and what this does, it creates a lot of smart home noise. And this smart home noise comes from discussions from the products that you all buy. So, that's what we're going to talk about today. So without further ado, I do want to share, if you're looking for more information on how we go to market, control4.com or snap1.com, a leading home automation residential provider with Snap One, which is a global worldwide distributor of all products. And believe it or not, when you have a person in your home coming to work on a TV, a home system, or whatever that they're working on, a networking, they will always probably have one or two products purchased from our group, which is why we want to work with the design community to help understand how to bring these technologies together. So without further ado, let's get to the discussion. I'd like to welcome to the stage today's moderator, Arlen Schweiger, Executive Editor of CE Pro, CE Pro Magazine, which is a leading trade publication for professionals involved in the custom electronics business. Also joining Arlen on the panel, is Heather Sadorowicz, owner and president of Southtown Audio Video, Josh Christian, CEO of Home Technology Association, and Melanie Niemerg, owner of Integral Systems. So let's welcome them to the stage. Heather, sorry for botching your name out. So we look forward to your insight. Have a great chat.
All right, Nick, thank you so much for that introduction. My name is Arlen Schweiger. I'm executive editor of CE Pro. As Nick said, our audience is made up of technology integrators and a lot of the manufacturers that support our industry, what we call the custom industry. Welcome back to the KBIS Next Stage. Thank you very much for joining us with one of the last few panels we have at KBIS 2022. So we've all been very busy. The title, as you know, is Tech Point, the possibilities for total tech integration with leading tech experts. And as a group, we've been walking the show floor, getting to know this session. We've come from the CEDIA Expo, and I believe this is all our first time at KBIS.
Yeah.
Some of us saw some of IBS as well. So we've been meeting with some of the brands, discussing their tech stories, and we've identified some standout brands and products that you guys would love to hear about if you haven't seen already during your time at the show here. Just to kind of set the agenda for today, what we're going to do is we're going to start from talking a bit about why tech is on everyone's mind here from the exhibitors that we met with. We want to go through some of the data that we pulled from NKBA's latest design trends report, which is pretty eye-opening. With demand continuing for technology solutions in the homes, it's really increasing, as we've seen throughout the pandemic in particular. Clearly, with kitchens and baths being among the most important rooms in the homes, there's a lot that can be put in there. So first, we're going to start off by discussing why it's important to use home technology in your designs, and also how you can position your business as being on the cutting edge of design in the next wave of technology. We will have a Q&A at the end of this period, so we can talk a little bit. If you guys have some questions that come up, keep those in mind, and we'll get to you at the end, and you can ask the panelists. So with that, I want to say thanks again to our panelists who have joined us, and let's get to know them a little bit first. Heather, Josh, and Melanie. Heather, let's start with you.
All right. Hello. Happy last day. I know how that feels like. You're all tired, a little bit hungover. I'm totally not. I didn't start my day with an emergency and lots of water and coffee, I swear. So I understand what it's like the last day of the show, so thank you for being here. My name is Heather Sadorowicz. I own an integration company in Buffalo, New York. I've actually been doing this for 20 years, which is kind of bananas because I didn't age a bit in that time. This is my first time at this show. I go to a lot of these shows, a lot of times on my own. They're always AV-centric. I'm one of very few females. I never have to wait in line at the restroom. So I am thrilled to see all the women and everybody here and the great mix. And holy cow, your show is huge. So when I got here, I thought, I'll just walk the floor. And that's next to impossible to hit them all. So we're stoked to see all the technology connection that is in a kitchen and bath show, because that's the heart of our home. That is where we're hanging out. And not only are we doing that anymore, we're also doing Zooming. The kids were learning. I mean, it's really just blown up of what the kitchen and bath was. Don't do Zooming in the bathroom. I also write for a few trade publications, so my heart where I am is I'm all about how do we improve your life with technology? How do you make life better with technology? Not just about putting technology in for technology's sake. but making life better with technology, something that can make my life just a little bit easier. I own a company, I have 2 kids, life is busy, and so, yeah, that's why I'm here, and I'm thrilled, so thanks for having me.
Sure. Josh, tell us about the Home Technology Association.
Thanks. So I'm in, like Heather and Melanie, I'm in the home technology space, have been since the 1990s, and worked with interior designers through that time, and enjoyed the combination of design meeting technology and what can be done when the two work together. It's amazing. I run the Home Technology Association, which formed back in 2017. We're a consumer-facing association that finds and certifies the top companies that do this technology work, because you might have this with your own personal experience. You'll find some really great firms like Heather's and Melanie's firms that are true professionals that understand your language, that love working on projects and coming up with really neat integrated solutions that look beautiful. They're on your team. But you might have also worked with some of these tech geek people that drive you nuts. They stick ugly speakers in places you don't like and put a big ugly TV right where you don't want it to be, and you're kind of at odds with each other. So we're finding those good firms and giving you a clearinghouse of firms that are professional and that know how to play well with others. So that's what I do. And I also am an educator and teacher. This is my first time at the show, and been teaching some classes on how to work with what integrators do, because it's probably more than you think. You will find out today. There's a lot of hats that integrators wear and a lot of things they need to know. And so I've been preaching that message, what integrators do, and very importantly, when to bring them into the project. So the takeaway from this today is bring them in very early, because they are a valued team partner for you. So that's what I'm doing here, and enjoying the show.
Great, and we'll definitely be getting more into those details there. Melanie, tell us a little bit about you and your company.
Yes, good morning. My name is Melanie Niemerg. I own an integration firm over in Clearwater. So if anyone here is from the Tampa Clearwater area, I'd love to have you at my showroom. I'm a Control4 certified showroom dealer. And I mean, I really second and third what everybody else up here said. We really want to make you as the designer look good. And we want to be not just that trick you have in your back pocket, but that expert that you call on to really help you. Like Josh said, we don't want your design and technology competing. We want to really make it complement and bring your beautiful designs to life and complement that. So, thanks.
Great. Well, thank you for the introductions, and I'll add to that by saying that I've been with CE Pro and sister brands in the technology space for over 15 years now, and I will say one of the things that we've wrestled with is the name integrator, custom integrator. Smart people know smart home, but they might not know what an integrator is. There's a little bit of a disconnect there just from the outset, so that's something that our industry has had to wrestle with. With that in mind, you know, we want to talk about that. We've all been to the CEDIA Expo for many years. I should probably say what CEDIA stands for. Josh, you can tell them a little bit about CEDIA and, you know, basically what an integrator does. You were talking about how an integrator wears many hats. What are some of the possibilities there?
Sure. So yes, CEDIA is a trade association for our industry. So just like NKBA and you have NAHB members here at this show, CEDIA is a trade association for the integrator space. So this term integrator, hopefully this will become a part of your vocabulary in the future. It's depending on who you talk to. It's the AV guy. I hate that word because first of all, we have AV girls.
Right?
So much more, right?
Yeah, it's not AV guys, and it's so AV is where that started. AV meaning audio video is where this industry kind of grew up from in the 80s. People were putting bigger TVs and home theater was coming out, and that's kind of where this grew up, this industry. But then it has blossomed into so many things. So now what an integrator is doing, and this is why the term integrator is very appropriate. They're integrating the audio video, that's kind of the given, but so many other things, lighting controls, LED lighting, circadian rhythm, wellness systems. There's a lot of wellness vendors here.
Helping with the network throughout your home.
Yeah, networking, motorized shading, which is something that some of you are into as well as motorized shading. Security systems, yeah, the Wi-Fi, and tying all this together and integrating it so that therefore the term technology integrator is the word that we're trying to use to standardize this industry. And what is good for you to know about that is you have one person to call that can answer all your tech questions. You don't have to talk to a shade person or a light person or an IT person for internet. It's a lot of knowledge to know, but that's why organizations like CEDIA exist, because they have educational classes to make Heather and Melanie pros and be able to talk about these systems intelligently and know which ones play together nicely and know how to make it look good too. That's the important thing too. Talking about that early design is a design-minded integrator is looking out for you to say, how can we make this blend into the decor or disappear as much as possible? And I could say from my past when I was an integrator myself, the best projects we did weren't due to any genius on my company's side. It was the combined efforts of the interior designer and your design vision, and maybe meeting some design challenge. How are we going to hide this, or how are we going to make this disappear? The client doesn't want to see tech. And being challenged by the designer and then working together and then putting it in such a way that it just looks awesome, looks beautiful. That's the goal.
So just moving into some data about the kitchen and bath industry and the connection to integrators and designers using, or more likely not using, integrators. It was kind of eye-opening to see the latest NKBA Design Trends report. And one of the big takeaways that I saw in it was that, looking at this slide in particular, was that when it comes to kitchen projects, the people surveyed from the NKBA membership were saying that really 3/4 of the time they were rarely or never using an integrator for projects in the kitchen or bath. Meanwhile, the satisfaction rate, and perhaps this has something to do with it, it seems a little bit marginal at this point, and there could be some gaps to be filled there. And
yeah,
really,
we have to do a better job for sure. But we're here, so we're here, and
right.
That's the first step.
Exactly.
Of many.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is what we're trying to do, and it's something that we've been really evangelizing at CE Pro over the years, is the connection to especially the design aesthetic. Because what we're seeing on multiple fronts from manufacturers and all sorts of products is a very design influence today, because customers are looking for those nice aesthetics where really the technology is meant to disappear. So, you might hear from designers that exact thing. We don't want to see anything. And we receive, with our awards programs that we do, we receive a lot of projects that show and tell that exact story from integrators, saying, we worked with architects on this project, we worked with designers on this project, and builders, and almost all of them start by saying, the client came to us and said, we love technology. They also often don't exactly know what's available to them, but we don't want to see any of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that being said, also, there is a lot of technology, and we can kind of just sort of leave this up there for a little bit, but there is a lot of possibilities going on in both kitchen and bathroom technology over the next few years that clearly the design community is hearing from its clients as well, that, we feel like these things are going to be coming on strong. So with that out there, Heather, in terms of some of the research and some of the things and anecdotes that you're seeing from clients, does that kind of jive with some of what you're seeing in terms of the data and the demand?
And it does. So as I said, I've been doing this for 20 years. So I remember when it used to look like really big speakers and it didn't mix in the room. And I'm sure that any of you will probably all remember TVs that were just ginormous, huge pieces. And any of you out there that are designers probably cringed at all that. And TVs have gotten smaller and sexier. A lot of them, they can do art now. They don't have to be the focus of the room. They can fit within the room, and that's a huge change. And to be able to do that on the audio side as well. If we do our jobs well, you don't see the technology in the room. It's there in ceiling speakers that disappear. So these pictures here, this is actually my own house when I did my own remodel. I am not a designer, so if you think that any of this is good, I'm going to feel really good about that. But just to show a little bit of how it looks. So beautiful door. I'm from Buffalo, New York. Big Frank Lloyd Wright piece architecture is that. And it's got a smart lock. And what that does is no more keys. My kids, I don't have to worry. I can get a text when they're home. I can let somebody in. I can give them a temporary code. I walk in. I don't have to worry about just that simple little piece of having a key, or where did I key, or where did I lose my key? So there's one.
And I think also it's the remote access for
Yeah.
smart lock and things where that hub, that touchscreen interface could be in a kitchen.
Absolutely. These are just another few products that are in my own home. The one on the right, the drawer, is a charging drawer. Now, something that we don't necessarily always think of, but in my island, instead of having all our connected devices, because we're always going to charge our phones and our iPads and all these other pieces, it's having a charging drawer. So you're just asking for power, and you can put your stuff in there. It doesn't always look this clean, but once in a while it is. And the charging drawer is a huge piece. So out of sight, out of mind. I actually force my teenage kids that they have to plug their phones downstairs in, so I know they're not on all night long. The middle picture is artwork. It's constantly changing artwork, and that lives in my dining room, so that it's just a nice piece of life. I've learned more about art than I ever did in any art history class, because it sometimes just stops me cold, and I can stop. You can actually swipe up. It will tell me who the artist is, when it was created, and then a simple touchscreen. And I actually have to say that touchscreen and those lights, the lights below that one light is my good night light or my goodbye light. So I touch one light when I'm leaving the house, and all my lights turn off that I have programmed as part of that. It's not a bank of 10 lights in a row that I can't remember which one turns on the garage. I have other lights, those other smaller buttons down there, in case I've never used them, not one single time. My lights also come on before dusk, so I never have to worry about walking into a dark house. It's those quality of life pieces that, again, that charging drawer is closed, you don't see it. That touchscreen will turn off just to a screen, you don't see it, and it just helps the wellness of my life.
And when you're talking to clients, the storytelling, telling them that lighting, for instance, can be pre-programmed for certain times of days,
Absolutely.
for
It's
certain
not about
activities. Do they
touching a
get
button.
that?
Yeah, they do when you tell them the story, or when you bring them over, that when I come down the stairs at 6 a.m., my lights turn on, and they turn on I'm not looking at switches. There is that same one button touch. I don't even touch it, because at 6 a.m. they come up to a 35%. It's not that bright. But when I come home at the end of the day, and that same button is going to turn them on brighter. So it's, again, that quality of life piece. This is my kitchen, and it's pretty open. I like that my dog wanted to be in this picture, but there's hidden speakers, and they're not hidden, but they're just in-ceiling speakers. So I walk into the door. As I said, I own a company. I have 2 kids. Life is crazy, and the first thing I'm going to do is go to what I like to think of as my second job, where I'm going to cook dinner and figure out what the heck we're going to eat tonight. So I'll walk in the door and I'll say, Alexa, play whatever. For me, a lot of times it's Alexi Murdoch, because it's just nice, calm music. That will play through my Sonos system, which is connected to my Crestron home system, but I didn't touch a button to do anything. It was controlled by my voice control, and it comes through my beautiful in-ceiling speakers, and it makes me go, ah. And that's what technology should do.
Right, and there's a reason that some of those speakers, they're called architectural speakers. They're in ceilings, in walls.
Because your eyes don't float up when you walk.
Right, and if an integrator gets into a project early enough, while the home is in the new construction process, they can put in speakers that can even be mudded over so that they're completely invisible.
Yes. We had a client, and she had a very beautiful, ornate home, and she came to us and said, her husband really wanted the technology, and she said, fine, whatever, I'll sign the dotted line if you can just promise me I will not see any of this stuff. And we said, okay, we can do that, and we did that. We put the invisible speakers in. It was able to be, they mudded over it, and she has the frame TV, so it looks like art, and you just would never know that these speakers are there. I mean, it was a beautiful job, and she loves it, and she's happy, and so, yeah.
Right, so Melanie, tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you're hearing from customers in terms of technology that they're looking for, or technology that they don't know about and that you're explaining to them?
Yes, so I would say a lot of, especially when it comes to voice control, people really wanting that. We tend to really use a product called Josh AI, and so it's very private based. It protects your privacy, but people love that. It's very smart, so they love that they can walk in and say, hey Josh, turn on the kitchen lights, turn on the family room lights, and shut the garage door. And it will do all of these things. And then they don't realize that they need such a robust Wi-Fi or a robust network system to be able to have that bandwidth to hold all of the smart technology in their home. And so, whereas before we were seeing a lot of frustration and they were like, well, I don't want this. And we were like, here's your issue, here's the problem. And so solving that problem, helping the designer come in and take the ugly parts of technology, hiding them so that your beautiful designs stay beautiful. And also along that architectural line, a lot of things that designers and homeowners don't realize is the things with like small aperture speakers. I love that technology is becoming beautiful as well, like fitting into these beautiful designs so that if you have, the can lighting, you don't have to have these speakers that maybe are bigger. If you want everything to be lined up a certain way and everything to be the same dimensions, that can happen, and it can be really, we did that in a kitchen for a client, and that was important to her.
Right, they have square grills now, you
Yes.
can hide them, they can be very small,
Yes.
it really can fit within.
Kind of see that in the picture here
Yeah.
on the right, where you see the square light can, and it's maybe pretty faint on the right picture. You see the two square light cans, and then in the middle it's kind of faint, but you'll see there's a square speaker that matches up with that footprint. And just as some of the higher end lighting fixtures now are flangeless, so the speakers are too. So the technology industry is taking the lead from lighting design and LED fixtures that are getting smaller and more high tech, and making it so the sight lines match up really well. And as mentioned before from Heather, when this is done right, your eye's not drawn up to it. Here's another slide of things I would love for kitchen and bath designers to know about, because
yes.
code, you have to put in so many outlets, right, on the backsplashes and such. And are electrical outlets ever pretty? I mean, are they ever a design thing? No. You want them to disappear. So you could see how blended it on the left side there. There's a outlet there that it draws less attention to itself. It has no shadow lines. It's literally flushed in with the surface. That's a stone backsplash. They could be painted if you have like wood backsplashes, glass, whatever it is. But they can do this not just with outlets, but it could be switches, anything that goes on the wall, even the keypads. On the West Hall, there's a picture coming up later on, but on the West Hall, there's a company there called WallSmart that does this.
Because I saw that stuff for the first time too, and it's flush.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll love it. It's just a way to make technology disappear. Hey, Jamie, one of our friends is here in the industry.
Right, and I think that company, would that be TrueFig with the outlets, that they can really, one of the reasons that we call it the custom industry is because there are companies that really do customize their solutions based on orders, based on what clients want. So a company like TrueFig that's doing an outlet like that, you tell them what kind of materials you're going to be working with, and they will put together something that blends right in with it. Same thing for certain loudspeaker manufacturers. I think even certain displays that you're able to surround them or conceal them. So there's really a lot going on with that. I did want to hint at, we talked about lighting, but LED fixtures have certainly really sort of changed the game for the custom industry, because it's brought in tunable lighting, color changing, and really with the circadian rhythms that you were talking about earlier, Josh, just mimicking the natural light. Certainly we're hearing about wellness a lot on the KBIS floor. We've been talking about wellness in the custom electronics industry for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah,
and
one of the crazy
it's everywhere.
terms.
A lot of it is because of the lighting.
We spend 90% of our time indoors now. 90% of our life is spent indoors. And so that lighting is more important than ever before. I completely, the color saturation, the right type of lighting, when it's turning it on and off, like all this stuff is super important. And I know that each and every one of you has been to a restaurant somewhere or at somebody's house where it's a bright white light and you feel uncomfortable.
Welcome to Design Construction.
Thank you.
Safety and well-being of all our attendees, partners, exhibitors, and
So,
staff remains our
to
top
explain a bit what we're talking about on this circadian rhythm lighting, and the other term is human-centric lighting. Raise your hands if you've heard that terminology. It's starting to kind of catch a little bit now. But what this is really neat technology that, as you may or may not know, when you're outdoors looking at natural daylight, as the sun makes its arc through the sky, the color of the light coming from the sun changes to our perception. Midday, it's a whiter, bluer light. That's when you go to the store and you see the daylight lamps. And you go, oh, of course I want a daylight lamp, look like daylight. You put it in at home and it's harsh, bright white light. We also like the warm light at night, right? Like the old dimming the incandescent lights, it has that lovely warm glow. So what color changing light does, throughout the day, it tracks what the sun's doing at your zip code. It's mimicking outdoor light. So if you have the sun coming in through your windows, your lights are almost imperceptibly shifting with the natural daylight. That helps with our circadian rhythm. It helps, scientists are understanding that it helps us be more alert in the middle of the day, since a lot of us are working from home and learning from home with the kids. Be more alert. That whiter light in the middle of the day helps with that. But it's going to look garish at night. But it's not going to look garish at night because your lights are changing throughout the day. Then when you get down to the evening hours, it gets into that really warm, kind of more reddish tones, the more amber tones, which help us relax. Yeah, so it's pretty neat that this is available now, and this is what our industry is getting into. And if any of this is interesting to you, reach out to your integrator and they could tell you what systems do this. There's a few of them that do that.
Right, and so just kind of continuing on with that theme, in terms of when designers are talking to clients, why else would it be important for them to say, hey, look, we have a professional that's going to be putting these things in, or that we'd like to put these things in, as opposed to, they might have clients that say, well, no, we can do that ourselves. We can, put in our home network. We can put in our loudspeakers. We really want to do that. Why is it important for the designers to get an integrator involved? Melanie, you want to go with that?
Sure. Well, you definitely want to bring us in early at the design phase, at the start of the design phase. And you, as the designer, want to bring us in because you don't need to worry about all the ins and outs of the technology. You just need to know that there are certain aspects of technology that exist, but bring us in because we can educate you and your client on things such as circadian lighting and the TrueFig, flush electrical outlets. And we also know the strong network that you need, that your client needs. And they could think, I can do a lot of this DIY myself. And some of that is fine, but on a small scale, because I'll tell you, numerous times we have had people that have come to us and they put all these different DIY things in their house. They exchange, remember your coffee table? You used to have 5, 6 remotes and you had to keep track of all of them. Well, we've traded that for 10 different apps on our phone. So a few things is with smart home automation, you can have one app that does many things, but also I'm losing my train of thought. But you don't have to worry about all of like this picture right here, that remote can do many things. So you don't have to worry about having all those different remotes on your coffee table. But people will say, well, I've got all these apps and I've got all these things in my house, but nothing's working because you don't have a strong enough network to support all of that. So people are frustrated, they're frustrated with technology, but we come in and we make it simple, we give you comfort and convenience, so you as the designer look good and your homeowner is happy.
It's just like if I can summarize, it's you bring in an electrician because you don't want to wire that up, and you bring in a plumber because sure you might be able to do that, but you only make that mistake once. So it's the same idea. You bring in the integrator because you don't have to worry about that ever-changing technology. You don't have to worry. We've already gone down the other roads. You don't have to worry about, hey, I think I can get this cheaper off Amazon, and then you get it and you put it in your beautiful new house and it doesn't work. So let us be that expert for you.
It's about making it user-friendly.
Yeah.
Another way to say it, because
Quality of life.
what Melanie was talking about is having too many apps on your phone. You're right. Apps are kind of cool, but when you have to flip 6 different apps, oh, this is for my lighting. Oh, what's the app for my? Oh, this is the one for my music. Oh, this is the one for this. And then pretty soon it gets, and they all look different. Their apps are all made by different people. And then the other thing that can happen with the DIY route, and not saying DIY is wrong, but at least consult with your integrator to see if that's the right solution for that client.
Yeah.
Because
right, there's different levels.
Different levels. And they might find out that this product doesn't communicate well with this product. That's just an unfortunate thing of this industry. No one, it's like, can't we all get along? Well, all the brands don't all talk with each other. But that early consultation to find out what the client wants, they can make sure that the products that are going to go in do talk together. I want to call out a friend of mine, Christopher Grubb. I haven't seen him in a while. He is out from Los Angeles with me. When I was an integrator, Christopher, I got to shout out what a great interior designer Christopher was, because we found each other back in the 90s, and he would call our company all the time on all of his projects. Like, I'm working on a project, I want you to meet the clients, and let's figure this out. So this is the kind of relationship that interior designers should have with the integrators. We worked on a lot of projects together, and sometimes we did very little on that project, but at least you did the client a huge service to say, here's the menu of options out there. Is any of this resonate with you? Sometimes it's no, sometimes it's yes, but things have evolved so much. What Heather was saying about having strong Wi-Fi networks, haven't we all seen, with the pandemic, look how many of your clients found out that their Wi-Fi stinks, or if the kids at home learning from home and they're sucking up the bandwidth, or maybe watching cartoons, and you're trying to have a business meeting in the other room and your internet's glitching and your Zoom is cracking up. The networks that we're putting in,
Critical. It's the next utility.
it's the foundation of the smart home. And something that I've noticed here on talking to the floor, I feel like it should be a consultant to some of these manufacturers, because they're all reliant on Wi-Fi. Some of the manufacturers here are not even putting in hardwired jacks. But if that's the case, you're buying these super high-end appliances and they're reliant on Wi-Fi, you have to have rock solid professional grade Wi-Fi in that kitchen, or all that fancy tech is not going to work right. And another thing, since we're talking kitchen and bath, I was talking to one of the folks at the Kohler booth, and he said, I was telling him about this presentation today. He says, tell all the designers out there, put electrical outlets behind the toilets now, because the toilets are using technology. See, this is the stuff that we would never have thought of 5 years ago, but this is what's going on now, and that's what our job is in this industry, is to report back. If we're going to use any of this technology, here's the things you need to know about, so your electrician could wire up things, and then your technology integrator could wire up the internet wiring and network wiring and where the Wi-Fi access points go, so all this stuff works seamlessly in the end.
Right, and just to add to that, I'll chime in that I'll say one of the things that I often hear from outside of our industry, from designers or architects or builders, when they think of smart home, the first thing that seems to come to everyone's mind these days is voice control, Alexa, Google Assistant, and I think the thing that people don't understand with that is that they feel like, okay, I'm going to bark commands at different products and it's just going to work. And that's really kind of how Josh AI, I think, and Melanie, you mentioned Josh, kind of really was a response to that, to the custom industry, because a company like that and the integrator will work together to program everything to work together, so that when you do say a command, it can control multiple things and you're not saying, okay, turn on TV, turn on lights, turn on music. You could say one command and it will do everything at the same time, which is just another one of those convenience factors, I think.
Yeah.
But goes beyond what people are traditionally thinking of smart home.
Yeah.
So in terms of the designer-integrator relationship, what we want to try and do is help connect everyone. So getting that, it's not an easy task. There are certainly different ways to do that. But Josh, maybe we can go back to you. What's been your experience in just how do designers meet integrators? What are some of the easiest ways to do that?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways to do that. The association that I run is called the Home Technology Association, and the website is htacertified.org. We have a designer finder on there, so you can type your zip code in and find people that meet the very high standard that we set. So we set this consumer-facing standard so you could find a professional integrator. There's also another association called CEDIA, and their website is cedia.net, and they also have an integrator finder. So that's how you could find some. One thing you want to do, and we do a lot of the vetting on our website, but if it's an integrator that is not certified, you would want to do some background research into that company. And if you go to our website, we published what that standard is. Just copy it and do some research on the company you're doing, because what's really important for you to know, the best designers, the best integrators out there are actually designers. They're technology designers as well. So they have 3 phases to what they do. The good ones have a consulting and design phase. The second thing they do is actually the contracting, putting the stuff in, the speakers and all that technology and smart home. The third phase of what they do is service. And like the relationship you have with your clients, you have a very long-lasting relationship with the client. They're going to remodel their home. They're going to fix things up. New appliances come out. You're there. That's the relationship a good integrator has with the client, because guess what? Technology breaks, right? How many times do you have to reboot your phone?
Technology is not a perfect science.
Yeah.
I say that right up front,
Yes.
and you need someone to call.
You need someone to call.
And it's always changing.
Who are you gonna call?
Technology's always evolving.
Yeah, just like I think you were saying this the other day, every so many years you're replacing your computer or your car, or you're doing some upgrades. Your technology that you put in today is not going to be the same exact technology you're going to live with in 7 years from now, but your integrator is that go-to person. So it's a long-term relationship, and because it's a very personal relationship, you want to choose wisely. So do your research on them, because when you find the right integrator, they become a valued design team member. They become part of the team, and you bring them in early on the project to consult to find out what technologies they want, and then they'll be there throughout the project. And the service-oriented ones are going to make your life easier, because they're not going to call you when something doesn't work. Your integrator, they'll have that personal relationship with them. So choose wisely.
Right. Say a router needs a reboot or something like that. These days, integrators can do that kind of thing remotely. They don't even have to go, or they even get alerts and will know of things that happen ahead of time or are going to happen, and can be very proactive with it. Melanie and Heather, in terms of the relationship, the process that designers will go through and working with integrators, what's been your experience cultivating that relationship? How does it look? Melanie, would you like to field that?
Sure, yeah, I'll start.
Go ahead.
So I really love to get to know designers and really understand what is important in your line of work. And so definitely, along with what Josh was saying, when you're looking for an integrator, you want one that's going to really care about that design process, that whole project from start to finish, that's going to put in the time of that project management. And so I think, at least with every designer, sometimes that relationship looks different, as far as, maybe having that conversation at the beginning. Do some like our proposals to go through them? Some say, I don't want anything to do with your proposal. Let's just work together side by side, and you deal with the client, with your proposal. And some, always be upfront with the homeowner. If it goes through you as the designer and there's any markup that you put, you definitely want the homeowner to be aware of that from the get-go. And so I know, at least whenever we meet with designers and we're working on a project, we always have that conversation up front. Anything else you want?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think transparency is clutch. Knowing what your expectations are as the designer. We're more mid-market, Buffalo, and so we are often brought in by the client themselves sometimes, and they might introduce us to the designer. So I feel like we kind of have to win that game all over again. But once they can see some of our work and what we've done before, reviews, that same kind of thing about doing your research, it's there, it's good.
And have any of you done things with just more education for designers, awareness, any kind of programs, lunch and learns, things like that?
Right here, right now.
Yeah.
Going forward from this.
Yeah, so we do events at our showroom I'd love to bring designers in and show, here's what, I know right now we're building a wall, like off of a wall, because we want to be able to show you as the designer, hey, we have it like part finished, part unfinished, to show you, here's what that small aperture speaker looks like on the outside. So here's that like 3-inch, speaker you're gonna see, but here's what it looks like on the back side. So when I know in Florida, in my market where I'm at, it's a lot of remodels. And so when you're remodeling and the walls are down, here's what it's gonna look on the back side, so here's what we need to plan for. But you guys need to know that, and we wanna keep you educated. And I think I like that, that aspect of our relationship with the designers, the architects, the builders, to bring you in, let you know, here's what's new, here's what's changing.
Right. So I think that's a good segue, and to go back to Josh, in terms of the number one question I think that you probably will get is, how much does all this stuff cost? Where does it fit into the budget? And I know HTA has done a big deal of research in this and put together kind of an easy button for doing some of that.
Yes, we have. So this QR code will take you to this forum here, which I'll get into. But if you go to htacertified.org website, we built this public-facing budget calculator, and it might be embedded on NKBA's website coming up, actually. So there's talk of that. I think it's going to happen. I'd say 90% chance. So this budget calculator is brand agnostic, and because many of you are specifically kitchen and bath, we're assuming the whole home, but the only thing I'll say to make it appropriate to kitchen and bath is just, it'll ask you the square footage. So don't put the square footage of the whole home in there for the calculator unless you're doing the whole home. Just figure out the square footage. But what it'll do, it's designed to ask high-level questions. There's just 17 of them. They don't get in the weeds, but just some basic questions about it'll prompt you through what technologies there are, lighting, shading, all this. And then it'll kick out a professionally installed, from good to great budget range. It does not cover DIY. That's the only thing it's really, if someone's going to put all this DIY stuff in there, our budget calculator is going to be not accurate. But as you are design professionals and working with technology professionals, which you should be doing, this will be accurate for that. Use it as a conversation starter, of course, just to get some rough ideas, and then call the pros in and they'll get the exact budget done for you. This form here on the screen is something that just came up with last week, and it came about from talking to a builder, and he said something really interesting. He said, we don't know what we don't know about what integrators do. And I said, that's a good point. It's all in our head. We understand it, but we don't understand all the things under the umbrella we were talking about earlier. So this was a request to come up with a little menu of items that technology integrators do, or just about home technology, and then we could use it as kind of an intake form, a project assessment form with that client, to take their temperature, if you will, to see if they have any interest in voice control, or any interest in a motorized shade, or smart LED lighting. Use it as your checklist, and then you can give it to your integrator and say, hey, this is what the client's interested in. But what's so good about this, you're really looking out for your client's needs when you at least bring this up and address it, because the early design coordination that's going to happen between you and an integrator is going to catch a lot of gotchas later on in the project. So what if the technology integrator is brought in too late, and you're like, oh, there's not an outlet for that, or that's not wired right, or we could have did it this way, but now we're going to have to do it that way, and it's not going to be aesthetic. You've looked out for their needs. And if the answer is like, all I want is Wi-Fi and a speaker on my counter, fine. But at least you brought that up to them, and you can make sure all the design considerations are taken care of. So use this as a great forum to understand all the different things that integrators are doing.
Mm-hmm. Great. So now that we've kind of set the background of everything, let's hear from our tech experts about what you guys saw at the show so far. We were able to kind of put together our top 3 picks of things that we've gone around, with maybe some honorable mentions in there, other things that struck our interest. But for the show floor this year, with all of our first experiences at KBIS, starting with Heather, tell us about some of the companies that you saw that you really got excited about.
So the way that I looked at the list as I went through the technology that some of these booths was not, I'm a really big proponent of not adding technology for technology's sake. There should be technology that can change lives, that can make lives better. It's not just adding a connected just to be connected. I've always joked about the dryer that can send me a text to say my drying is done, and I'm like, if you can't fold it for me, then I don't really care.
And I don't want him.
Right? Then it makes no difference. But there are ones now. I did have a conversation with another booth that said, like, well, what we'll do is we'll keep tumbling it so at least it doesn't get the smell. So that's good. So what I was looking for was technology that's a little bit game changing, a little bit out of its realm, and a little bit creative. So this first one is a company called Cooksey. Cooksey has got a thermal sensor built in and a camera, and you can kind of see it has like this almost microphone stand. So it will look at the fry pan below, and it connects to an app, and it can help you learn how to cook. So people who don't know how to cook, people who have an injury, who are getting back into lifestyles, people who just really want to understand how to get grandma's favorite sauce. So they had two different types. One was it could actually record and share those videos, so you can share how to do that sauce. It will tell you the exact temperature of your pan, and you can so you can do one or the other things. You're either watching the app, and it'll give you step-by-step instructions, or you're creating it and then you're sharing that with your family. So something just unique and different. It's not that I think that Cooksey will be in every home in America, but I do think that they came up with something very unique and creative that can solve and help. My next one is, Melanie, help me out.
Natufia.
I'm like, I cannot say this name, Melanie, please help me out. So Natufia, I actually saw them at the Consumer Electronics Show about 5 years ago. And they did just win an award a little while ago, right before we went on. They're creating this indoor garden, obviously a huge piece of wellness. I talked about how we spend 90% of our time indoors. They have one that almost looks like a refrigerator. They're actually just up here. The refrigerator is larger, and I think of, where would you put this? But it's a really great concept. This year, they came out with this newer one. They're taking orders at the show, which was pretty cool. You're adding water to the base. You're putting in these little cubes. I'm going to do lettuce, cherry tomatoes, strawberries, and some herbs. And it's going to take care of it for you. I have a black thumb. I can't grow anything. I literally just killed a cactus. So for me, this is a really big deal. So now there's two pieces, right? I have food at my fingertips. I have herbs at my fingertips. But also, it's a healthier home. We all have heard that having plants inside is really great. So I thought what they're doing, unique, different, and they get my award as well. And last but not least, this is a company called Caregiver Smart Solutions. So a friend of mine, Ryan, who was floating around here somewhere, actually invented this. And what this is it's a pack that you buy. So aging in place is huge right now. They're not wanting to go to assisted living. The baby boomers are our largest generation. Now I think maybe the millennials maybe just took over. And they want to age in place, but they don't want to be watched, and they don't want constant everything. So this pack actually comes with the red buttons are panic buttons, so you could put them in certain spaces. And the other ones are motion sensors. So mom lives 7 states away, and you're really concerned, but mom won't go into an assisted living home. Now I can have some of those sensors because we're very habitual people. So maybe outside the bedroom, I put one of those sensors, and they're battery operated. There's no install in there. And so if I know that if by 10 o'clock, mom didn't walk into the hallway, something's probably up. It's a really creative way to relook at aging in place. You pay a monthly fee for it. You can add on more of each one if you wanted to, but a really clever, different way of thinking about technology.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Thanks so much for that, Heather. Josh, let's go to you.
All right, so these are some of these are a little bit of a stretch coming from the home technology background, I know, but this was interesting. Touring Kohler's booth, they if you saw this crazy shower, all these 6 shower heads and
I really
things.
considered getting in.
Yeah, it was amazing. But the technology in there, they have this little touchscreen on the wall that enables you to turn on all these different shower heads and temperatures and get everything ready for you. And I wouldn't say it's really an integrated product yet with what our industry is typically doing, but it does have some of the popular voice control, things like like Alexa and Google Home in there. So you could say, turn on this shower head or that shower head, or turn on this scene, it'll do that. So pretty interesting just to see that manufacturers like Kohler, it's been around a long time, is starting to embrace technology. They're just kind of getting into this. And I was talking to one of their engineers, and they're looking to work with this channel a little bit more, to more deeply integrate it.
There was an announcement at the show.
Yes, with the CEDIA collaboration, more of the brands that we're used to in this space, they're going to make it work with that eventually. So at least that conversation starting now, where the technology is they're understanding that they need to embrace technology too. So a good nod to them. Also, Moen was doing something too with voice activation. So it's interesting to see how technology is moving into the bathroom space. So that's one. This one, you wouldn't even know this is a rollable TV, but this TV literally rolls up like a shade and then kind of rolls back up. It's only $100,000 though.
That's all.
It's literally $100,000.
Get two.
Just a small part of the budget.
The crazy thing is they're sold out and there's a waiting list for them. So there's always rich
Wow.
people buying crazy things. But this is not you're going to run out and get these in your clients' homes right now, but this is where technology is going. This TV, if you see it, it's over in the LG area, and you can't tell it's a rollable TV unless you go over and talk to someone and find out, but it will roll up. So imagine in a kitchen counter in the future, this thing could go down and back up. So, or even descend. So there's all sorts of form factors. They only have it in one size now. I think it looked like it was a 55. I didn't even ask, 55 or a 60-inch TV. And I asked them, are you making these in smaller form factors? Because you're in this whole appliance area. Is that what's going to happen? They go, eventually, yes. So something to keep an eye on. And kind of going to what we saw in Heather's home, I think this is great for designers, and Christopher could tell you from all the projects we worked on together, it was always this big, ugly black rectangle. How are we going to get this, hide this? Are we putting panel lifts and moving art in front of it? Are we putting these fancy wood doors that open up, or having it descend out of a custom piece of furniture? Well, now with digital art on there, just leave it, because now it's a centerpiece of the room.
Yep.
So that black, ugly rectangle is now the centerpiece of that room. And I added a monitor in my office that just plays digital art all day. So
Yeah, I have one too, and it sometimes will stop me in my tracks.
yeah, and I'm on the phone sometimes and stare and like kind of space off in a nature scene. And I'm like, oh, I'm on a sales call here, get back. But it's fun to have these things, and it's almost like setting up a Spotify playlist. You put your favorite artists in there, and I have different moods for different art. Here's my nature scenes, here's these spacey ones, here's like abstract weirdness, and they're not stills. Most of them are motion art. And you can see these patterns kind of forming and growing. It's just really interesting. There's a whole bunch of digital artists out there now, and you pay a few bucks a month to have this access to the service, but wow, now
Right.
the TV's the center space. And if you're doing whole homes too, they will commission custom art for your client. So if your client wants a one-off piece and they want it to fit an entire wall that's 60 feet long by 10 feet high, they'll do it. So if you get creative with this digital art, you could completely have something custom for your client. It's pretty cool. So
Right.
Two reasons to show
Or
that.
think of even your own digital photography these days, the high resolution
I have a client
photography
that
can go
they
onto
have
something
their
like that.
family pictures from like all their vacations are just,
I have some of that as well on mine. And it's random. So a picture of Italy pops up, and you're like, oh, I want to go back.
So this is not on this hall, this is over in the West Hall, but I wanted to bring attention to, there's a couple things I like about this this company. This is called WallSmart, and TrueFig is like them. There's a couple companies in our space that do this really neat type of finishing. So this is the flush mount. So imagine this is on a backsplasher in the kitchen where your outlets, your lighting keypads will now fit flush. And look at the one in the lower left that says Basalt. That's a Belgian company. Some of you might know them. They make these super gorgeous, that's stainless steel and brass, that even have leather and woods. You don't have to have plastic keypads for your lights and thermostats. These are really luxurious interfaces that they're touch sensitive. So it's interesting to see how design could come into the mundane. Take a dimmer, take an outlet and make it look cool and flush it in, and it draws less attention to itself. Yeah. So something neat to know about. All these outlets could be flush in your wall.
Right. Just to add to that, I know one of the products that they make now, and I think a couple other companies do that too, is for, we talked about network coverage, but ugly wireless access points that might go on a ceiling, they're making
They have
coverings
one,
for
you
that
see it?
that look
Flushed to the
flush.
ceiling.
Yep.
Yeah.
You would never know it's there, but it certainly helps the Wi-Fi in
Brilliant.
the home.
Yeah.
Melanie, how about you?
Yeah, so I kind of picked two products that are important kind of where I'm at even in life. I'm in that, what they call that sandwich space. I'm a mom of 3 young kids, but I also have 2 parents aging in place, so I'm stretched really thin. But I really like this because it is whole home water filtration system, water purification system. But one of the things that I really liked about it was that it does send you, they do have an app for your phone, but what I liked about it was that it will alert you if there's anything going wrong or if anything needs to be replaced. And so I know I do have a water purification system at home, but every 18 months I have to remember to call this guy to come out and give me all these different things to put under my sink, and I'm like, I'm gonna forget. So I liked that this, and this was a lot smaller than what I have underneath my sink. And it was also, they had it was through infrared and LED purification. So it was just a really neat technology. I liked it. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so this is the Armada drying solutions, and someone just told me they won a best of KBIS or something award. So that was really neat. But I really when I saw this, if you want to go to the next, so you can see at the top, it's got that is hidden up in the ceiling, and then it's got this very low profile of these blow dryers. So it blows into your shower and blow dries it. So I was thinking, even for my parents, my mom taking care of my dad every day, they need a shower that, there's no mold. So they're, that's that wellness. And then the no slip. You wouldn't worry about them falling or slipping, either one of them. So I thought that was a really neat, and you can see that system there. They can hide it behind the wall, but she said it can even be 100 feet away. So if it's a condo, there's different solutions to make it fit in that space. So I like that.
Great. So I'll go with a few of my picks. One thing that I actually heard some designers echo today, that they saw this product and they were kind of wowed by it. We were talking about the natural lighting cycles and things like that. Well, Beko is doing a whole lot, it seemed like, with sustainability, energy efficiency, things like that, even into the refrigerator, where they've taken this sort of green, red, blue light cycle and bring it into the produce area, where apparently the photosynthesis process and all that continues on in the refrigerator. But
that's cool.
Part of it is that produce, you know how quickly it can rot.
Right.
And really just be horrible smelling in a fridge and all that. And what they do with this lighting cycle is that it really extends the amount of time that you can have fresh produce in your fridge. I believe the technology was called Harvest Fresh.
Very cool.
But the whole company I was kind of impressed with their messaging. Another product that I really like, actually, this company Paralic had a couple things that I thought would be good kind of adjacent attachment sales to what integrators do and what we work with. And this was, it was a dual refrigerator freezer component, and one thing that I liked was that it had 300 plus combinations. It was very modular with what they could put into it. And for a lot of outdoor kitchens that they were sort of targeting with it, the outdoor space, for one thing, we haven't really touched upon it today, but outdoor lifestyle kitchens is a huge market in the custom industry side. And what we've seen a lot is, custom dealers they're teaming up with landscape architects, they're teaming up with designers, and they're putting together kind of a blended showroom space that we've written about it in CE Pro, where they'll get a bunch of vendors together and have something where people could come and see, a lot of this is what's possible with your outdoor space, not necessarily all technology related, but some adjacent kind of technologies and adjacent sort of products. And I saw that this could be an interesting one for that. And the same company also had this very cool nitro-infused coffee brew dispenser.
Nitro coffee is a good thing. I could use them.
They're giving taste tests, so go see them. It was delicious, but I also saw that as sort of, we work a lot with multi-purpose entertainment space, rec room spaces, and it seemed to me kind of like a no-brainer attachment sale there, where we see integrators deck out home entertainment spaces with lots of different things. And one other that I saw that this company Nasoni has been doing is they're doing this fountain faucets, and one thing that is part of sort of oral hygiene and health, and a lot of it was in particular for seniors. And they showed me a prototype design that they had of this sort of a next generation thing that they call the Access H2O, and it includes things like facial recognition and proximity sensors. So if someone's coming up to it, and it'll know, if their mouth is open, they're going to want to drink. If it's not open, they might be waiting to brush their teeth, and then they're going to open it.
You're actually just yawning.
So it's some really interesting technology for especially seniors, especially for disabled people. And what made me think of it in particular is some of the projects that we've received at CE Pro are from a control company that does a lot of work donating time and solutions, products, and installation to the Gary Sinise Foundation, where they do for the Wounded Warriors. They outfit these smart homes, smart, healthy homes that totally change the lives of handicapped people. And I thought, well, if something like this comes out that's really going to help them in the bathroom or the sink in the kitchen, I could see that as being kind of a boon and a great piece that works very well in there with that kind of project and just in general. So that's what we had for our cool products that we saw at the show. Now I think we have a few minutes left that we can do some Q&A if there are some questions from any of the people in the audience. We've got it all figured out. We've got all the designer integrator relationships ready to go.
Job is done.
Yeah, we've done it.
All right. Well, if that's it, we thank everyone for your time. We really appreciate you attending our talk today. Thanks to all of our panelists, and thanks especially to our sponsor, Control4, which has a lot of the great technology that we've talked about today. They've got it all covered. So with that, thank you guys very much. Wait for the next panel session to come along, and enjoy the rest of KBIS.